Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet, the Second Amendment Foundation show where we talk to people who are making a difference in gun rights. Joining me today, two very long-time friends of mine. I'm not going to call them old friends, they're not old, but two long-time friends of me. I've known them for probably 4 or 5 years, ever since Gun Rights Policy Conference Phoenix, the time before last. I'm talking, of course, about Cheryl and Dan Todd of Gun Freedom Radio. Thanks for joining us today.
I am super excited to be here, Paul. Thank you for not just inviting me, but also the other guy.
Are you going to let me talk?
Dan!
Because I want to say thank you, too. Yeah. No, it's great to be on your show, Paul.
Well, let's get started with, I like to go, when we do these, I want to go into the backstory. You two are not just radio hosts, but you also have been Second Amendment advocates for a very long time. It doesn't matter really which does first, but could you tell the story of how you became Second Amendment advocates?
Well, that's a long story, but Cheryl and I have been married, 34 years?
It'll be 36 in April, but thanks for playing.
Yeah. Well, when Cheryl and I first got married, there was no guns in the house. I mean, not because we didn't like guns. We just had other things going on. And her brother asked me to go to a gun shop with him. So I went and I bought a gun, and about, maybe 45 days later, I had over 100 guns, and then it kept going and kept going and kept going. So we ended up having to open a gun shop, and that's azfirearms.com in Avondale, Arizona. So we opened up the gun shop, and we have to speak out. We had to find a way. And Cheryl, she likes microphones, okay? And she was a leader at a church, a worship leader, and I saw that mic and I saw what she could do with it, and I said, "Hey, Cheryl, why don't we try some other things, and you can go on with that."
Absolutely. So we have a friend who has a local show here in Phoenix, Arizona, on at the time on one of the big FM stations. It's KTAR. His name is Mike Russell, and it was the Get Outdoors with Mike Russell show. And so we were chatting with him, and he was saying, he knows all the outdoorsy things. And the common thing with outdoorsy things, with hunting and fishing and horseback riding and hiking and, all the different things, is firearms. And so he said, I'm not really proficient in being able to speak about the tools, but Dan has an encyclopedic knowledge of them, and I could just talk paint off a wall. So we decided to have a 15-minute spot on his show each Saturday. And I mean, 15 minutes is sometimes takes that long just to say hello.
Right.
So it was not long enough, and we very quickly outgrew the 15 minutes, and the station manager, he clued in one day that we were talking about, what? Firearms. Guns? And he wasn't a huge fan of that, so we knew that we weren't going to be able to grow there at their station. And so then we were on an AM station, 960 The Patriot, for a while. And then we were on an internet-based station for a while.
With the Patriot, we had an hour show, and it was every Saturday morning or Saturday evening, and we were doing great with that. We were getting good listener responses and things. And so I said, "Hey, Cheryl, you could probably do this for 2 hours."
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
So we went to a 2-hour show, and that was going really good. But the Patriot's a great station, but they just didn't have a big reach. And so we were finding that most of our audience was getting us through our website, through our podcast. And so we went to an internet-based with Dave Pratt with
Star Worldwide Network, and did great there. But, things move and change, and we wanted to have a home-based studio. And so now the new iteration of our show is we really are podcast style. We're 1 hour on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are on lots of different outlets, but we just like to send people to our website. So the question was, how did we become advocates? That's how we became podcast radio show hosts. But the advocacy is just kind of built into it because, we really weren't looking to be the experts on anything. But I wanted to reach out to subject matter experts. And so that's why we are an interview-based show. Because as I was really learning more and more about our precious and unique American Constitution, I was reaching out to people who, are actual experts in various areas of the Constitution, of hunting, of gun manufacturing. And I thought, well, as I am learning, I will give an audience, if I had one. I wasn't sure, was anybody even going to be listening as we kept changing stations and that sort of thing? Would they follow us? And so it just kind of came out in that way. But it really all started when President Obama was elected, and there was this sudden change from before he was elected to after he was elected, how we, as just Dan and Cheryl, were perceived by people that we went to church with, people that we had known before, President Obama was elected. And we realized that the stuff that was happening, the things that were being said on the nightly, air quote, news, was truly impacting how people looked at us as gun owners and definitely as gun store owners selling those tools.
Paul, when we opened our store, when we had our store at first, we had an auction house and a gun shop, and we'd go to social events. And I think Obama era, they tried to shame you if you were a firearms owner, and we'd go to events and say, "Yeah, we have an auction house and a gun store," quietly. And one day, Cheryl, it's sad, but one day we woke up and said, "No. We're not doing this no more. We have a gun shop. We're proud of that. We serve the community well. We represent the firearms community well. We're a firearms store." And so that's really what kind of got the bullet really moving fast, right?
Absolutely. We didn't want to be defined by people that didn't even know us at all, didn't know anything about the business we had, the tools that we sell. But it was most frustrating to see that people that did know us suddenly were looking at us through a different lens. And so we wanted to be able to speak up intelligently. And I realized I had all the feeling of what I wanted people to know about me, but I didn't have the words and the knowledge to articulate it. And that's why, interviewing subject matter experts started helping me be able to craft the words that fully expressed how I believed and how I felt inside.
So I'm gonna tee off a little bit here and go in a little bit of a different direction, going from the advocacy side, now going back to the podcast, radio, video thing. Looking back since you started, as I said, I was introduced to you folks when you were at Gun Rights Policy Conference in Phoenix, 6 years ago or so, maybe even 7 years ago. But you had just started at that point. And what are, going back from the very beginning, what are some of the moments in your show that you think, wow, that was so cool, I'm glad I got to do that, or I'm really proud of this particular moment?
Oh, gosh.
Well, I can tell you the things that weren't. Okay? and I'd like to start with that because I think that it opened up Cheryl to be able to tell you the good things about it. But the fact that we were denied, we had a contract and we were denied to fulfill that contract from a large FM radio show, KTAR, here in town. Mm-hmm. And that was our first obstacle. Probably was good for us because...
Oh my gosh, did that put fuel in my tank?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And just because we were talking about the fun of owning guns, and to be told after we had a year contract that they were going to cancel, they prefer that we cancel. And we knew what that meant, that if we didn't go agree with them, that it was going to be an ugly full year. But anyway, that's the worst part. The good part, I think, is that Cheryl is really, really good at gathering people together and introducing people together. And showing what's best about that person, which makes this whole thing stronger.
Well, thank you for that. And really, it is a team effort always. And when I'm trying to think of, proud moments, it's like almost every single time I ask somebody to be a guest, like yourself, Paul, who's been in this forever, and I'm just this newbie on the block, and you trust me enough to say yes. That is such a hugely appreciated thing that makes me humbled and proud. And our very first ever guest, and I still cannot believe to this day we've become friends, and I tell him this all the time, I cannot believe that he said yes to me. It was Ken Blanchard. I mean, Ken Blanchard, Black Man with a Gun. Talk about, legendary in the gun rights movement and advocacy. And he didn't know me from anybody. I sent him a Facebook message, and I said, I'm reading your book. I'm really interested in your story. Mm-hmm. Would you be a guest on my brand new show? I didn't even have anything to send him to say, so here's some other work I've done, right. We're sort of professional, And he just said yes. And so when I saw him at an event after that, I went up to introduce myself. I said, you're never going to remember me. My name is Cheryl Todd. And he said, yes, I remember you, Cheryl Todd. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I said, you will never know what it meant to me that you said yes to be my very first interview. And he said, I love this so much. He said, spirit recognizes spirit. And, being a Christian and a spiritual person, that meant a lot to me. And it helped give me confidence to then reach out to people like, you, Paul Lathrop and Rob Morse and Jeff Knox and all the people that I've had the incredible honor to have on the show and interview and bring to my audience and really add to, it's not even a nationwide conversation, it's actually a worldwide conversation because of this amazing time in history where we have the internet. And it's truly humble. And as far as the advocacy part where now I'm speaking, because when people started asking me to give talks, I was like, but I'm not the expert. I interview people,
Right.
But I had the opportunity to speak twice now at the United States Capitol building, and standing on the lawn with that amazing historic building behind me, talking about what our founding fathers fought, bled, starved, and died to leave to us and as inheritance. I really get choked up about that. And then I even had the opportunity to speak in front of the Supreme Court building on the 10th anniversary of the Heller versus DC event when the Supreme Court had signed that, the 10-year anniversary. And sometimes I pinch myself and I think, how did I get so blessed to be able to do these things and speak to people just from my heart, because I'm just a mom. I'm just a grandma. I don't have any special background or in journalism or, the Constitution or any of that. And so those are some of my most proud moments. And honestly, Dan, he always gets the joke about, well, he's the other guy, but I couldn't do any of the things that I do if it weren't for him doing what he does with, his knowledge to keep the businesses running and growing through every kind of roller coaster economy that we've been in for the past, what have we been open, about 16 years now?
15 or 16 years.
So,
well, I feel that, I am just as important in this move that we're doing right now because she needs support and I'm her coach. I push her. You can do that. And she obviously is a better speaker. She's a better looking person. All of these things, she is the best at that. I'll just step back and let her drive. And then when she needs a little help, I'll handle the steering wheel. But she's amazing at what she's doing. So,
well, thank you.
We're coming up on the time we have allotted here, but before we take off, I'm going to let out a little secret in the Second Amendment media world, and I just hope that you guys agree with this. What I found in my journey in podcasting and broadcasting and of the varieties that I take part in is that the people in this community in Second Amendment advocacy are the most giving people. It's very rare. I can count in almost 9 years, I can count on one hand the number of times I've heard, we're just not interested. Scheduling conflicts, that happens. Life happens, but I can count, even with a couple fingers chopped off, the number of times I've just said that they've just said, it's just not going to work. We're just not interested. Has that been the same for you guys?
I think so. I think that the people that are knowledgeable about what's going on in the world about Second Amendments and things like that want their voice to be heard because they're trying to silence it.
They really do, and they're so passionate about what they do and their particular expertise that it just brims over. They can't hold it in. So if we give them an opportunity to talk about it, and it's not that we're giving them an opportunity to talk about themselves. It's not like that. It's really an imparting of knowledge, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a very, very generous industry. I can't imagine any other industry that I could have stepped into, said, hey, I'm the brand newest kid on the block. Will you come and play with me? And I can't imagine, any other industry that I would have been accepted so warmly, and people of the highest caliber would have said, yes, I want to help. I want to be a part of what you're trying to do. Sure.
Well, we are right up on the amount of time we have. If I could, before we go, your podcast, your video, if people want to get in touch, if they want to listen to you, watch you, just find out about what you're about, how can they do that?
Okay, I'll do it. We are at gunfreedomradio.com for all of the interviews that we've done. We are at azfirearms.com for our small mom and pop's gun shop, ammo, guns, some light gunsmithing. And we are at POG Auctions, POG Auctions.com for our estate auction house where we sell guns and coins, jewelry, antiques, cars, boats, all the better things you'd find in a person's home.
Very, very cool. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today.
Paul, thanks for having us on.
This was fun.
Yes.
Absolutely. Folks, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe. And when you do, hit that notification bell so you know when we release another video. Everybody, thanks for watching.